Well, it was years ago in my youth. I used to work with a lot of theatre groups and stuff, and we've been doing a thing at the Serpentine that was a living in gig. We were started at 10 o'clock in the morning. We used to finish at 6 o'clock in the evening. We were doing a thing that was sort of based on Battle of Britain stuff, and we flew around with wheelbarrows and whatnot, doing everything that the Red Arrows do, but with wheelbarrows. But the whole thing, we got in character and stayed in it all day. And at the end of the day, we had this mad scene in the mess with all the RAF blokes, and it ended up with plenty of drink and chucking the stuff out. Well, you can imagine after about a fortnight of that, you get completely off your crust, and at the end of the day, you can't really mix with other human beings because you're still, halfway with the lads flying about. So anyway, we finished this evening, and there was another guy from another theatre group, which shall remain nameless, called Roland Miller. And one of his favourite tricks was he'd suggest that there was a lovely Indian restaurant, and it always happened to be just next door to where he lived, or where he was staying at the time. And he'd drag everybody off there and get a free lift home, dump us in this horrible restaurant, and then disappear. Well, we got dumped this night anyway, and it was horrible. We got thrown out of the restaurant in the end. I think there was something about people seeing tigers in the undergrowth that was growing in the windows. Anyway, so we come out of there, and we went back to the pub near where I was staying with another bloke from the theatre group. And we were still more or less in the mood we were in when we were being these daft pilots in the mess. And there was a guy in the pub with this horrible bulldog who was a bitch, and she kept coming round and rubbing her arse up against us, and it was getting a bit of a pain. So, like in the tradition of the jolly old flying lads, he sort of chucked a pint of beer up it. It so happened the dog belonged to the bloke who lived downstairs where I was staying, so he wasn't very pleased. So we're going home that night, and the bloke's walking behind us. Well, my mate was a bit peculiar at times, and he was convinced we were being followed, for this guy was going to do us over. So he grabs a couple of dustbin lids and starts fending this bloke off when he followed us up the steps of the house, not knowing that he lived there. So anyway, we get back there was rows all night, we quietened that one down. But when I got back, I got this message that somebody had delivered over the phone, and it was this young lady who a Scottish young lady who I'd had an affair with at some point, who was married and living in London, and her old man was off to an engineering job, and she'd invited me over for an amorous and very posh breakfast. So anyway, I turned up. I was right, buggered from the night before. So I turn up the next morning at her house about 7:30 when the old man's just gone off, and she's got this lovely spread, just like bottles of champagne cooling and smoked salmon. The lot's great. So we have this super luxurious breakfast, and then the amorous bit afterwards. Well, just as we're in the middle of the amorous bit, there's a big, really heavy bang at the door and a ring. So I immediately suspect the worst, leap out of bed, get my trousers on. She goes to the front door, and when she opens the front door, there's a little box, a little white box on the doorstep with steam coming out of it. Well, her old man was an engineer, and she said, "Oh my God, he's found out it's a bomb." So we didn't, we weren't too sure what to do about this, so I had another look at it, and it was just polystyrene, white polystyrene. So I said, surely you wouldn't put a bomb in white polystyrene, it's a joke bomb if it is a bomb. Anyway, she said, "Oh no, I know what it is." She was on a sampling committee to sample various unnamed products and send in a report saying which one tasted best. When we lifted the lid up, it was full of 5 different sorts of ice cream in a little freezer pack. So anyway, that finished off the breakfast very nice. But like, what was the night before, and the dustbin lids and the running round and the bulldog's bum and all the rest of it, and after the amorous breakfast, I had to get back to start with this mad crew doing the RAF thing at 10 o'clock. So I rushed off from her house, and I was a bit bleary-eyed and buggered. I get on the tube, go down the tube, sort of tail end of the rush hour. I get in there, and I'm just sort of a bit dozy-eyed. I see a space on the tube, and I'm just about to sit down in it when somebody beats me to it, and I hadn't noticed. And I sat on this bloke's lap, and he was like a joke, bowler hat, pinstripes, a lot. And he was like terribly indignant at being sat on by this sort of hairy, bleary-eyed stranger who was reeking of champagne and smoked salmon in my whiskers, at that time of the morning. So he's very indignant. I leap up, and I got a fag on at the time, set fire to a young lady's tights. And so the whole place is in what's name. And I've got a bottle of brandy in my pocket which she'd given me as a parting gift. That falls out and smashes on the floor in the tube. Everybody's up in arms. We pull in at a station, And lo and behold, I mean, you never see him when you want one, but there was a railway policeman there. He comes into all this fracas. I step off the tube. He wants me name and address and all, you know, and I was completely confused by this time, and the only thing I could think was, I looked up and there was this poster on the wall, it just said Dirty Harry, so I said, Dirty Harry! Nobody believed me, of course, but luckily there was a tube coming in on the other platform going the opposite direction, so I just whizzed across, got on that. Anyway, eventually I get back to the gallery where we were doing this performance. We're supposed to start at 10 o'clock. I got there 5 minutes past 10 and the governor says, "You're late."